Dun, 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 dun. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to this week's review of Loki, the Nexus event, episode 4. Got a lot to get into this week. Don't want to take up too much time, but let's do our general intros with my lovely guest tonight. Starting over here next to me on top, another variant of herself. It is Alyssa Jean.
Hi, sorry that the Alyssa from the Sacred Timeline couldn't make it, so she sent a variant in her place. But very happy to be here, actually, because no variant of Alyssa could do the next couple weeks, so I appreciate, Darren, you having me on, even though I was just here like 2 weeks ago. So thanks for having me.
Hey, always a blast to have you on. And, of course, rounding out kind of our ladies' night, I guess we could go with, it is Corrie, the mistress of mischief. I can get that out herself.
I can be mayhem too.
Corrie Shoemaker.
Hi guys, glad to be here, bringing the chaos and the mischief and the magic and all that fun stuff.
Wonderful, excellent, and a great group joining us live in the chat. Want to be sure to say hello to Silver Surfer, Lily Mack, April E, Bill Casey. Dun, dun, dun. Very nice to see all of you jumping in here fresh. Yeah, a lot of stuff to dive into this week. I just want to give one little bit of info. I had dropped out. I'm doing a special on time loop movies and shows over on Mark's channel. Enchantment of Eternity was scheduled for this Saturday, but due to some internet conundrums and issues, we are pushing that off to probably next week. So keep an eye out on your notifications for Enchantment of Eternity, and I will be sure to tweet out some information when I have a specific date of when that's coming out. I think probably Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. All right, so let's dive in right into this, because episode 4, we kind of had what some people discussed as a filler, really more of a side character intensive moment, but jumping right back into our main plot line this week and using that information really well. So a lot of stuff going on this week. Corrie, let's kick things off with you. What did you think about this week's episode? What brought up, and your just sort of general thoughts?
Yeah, there was a lot going on. I felt like this episode, we finally started to get some answers and things started moving forward quicker. The previous episode, I guess I was in the minority that I didn't really like it. I felt like, okay, we're having a really long discussion and therapy session. Like, can we actually get moving and do something? I feel like we only have 6 episodes. Come on, chop, chop, right?
Right.
So I liked that we had like that fight scene at the end. I like that we got our answers about the 3 lizards that are overseeing the timeline. I also like that we got to see a bit of Sylvie's backstory and her childhood, and that moment where she was taken by the timekeepers, and it explains a bit more of why she is the way she is. And I love that we actually get to see more growth for Loki's character. Like he's basically, I feel like this season is him having an intervention. Like Marvel's like, Loki, we need an intervention. We need to fix you. We are TVH taking you, and you're going through forced therapy whether you want to or not. Sif's gonna help. Just putting him through all those scenarios. And I love that we see the first signs of him actually having genuine compassion for somebody, actually feeling bad about the things he's done. Whereas in the past, in the films, he gets captured and there's that scene where his mother's there and he's like, hello, mother, nice to see you. Like there's no remorse about what he's done. And now he's actually realizing that what he sees as a joke and he uses for comedy and also as a way to make himself feel valued is hurting other people. And sure. He's finally making that connection, which I love seeing that, because I'm excited about where he's going to go from there.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, totally agree. I mean, how more can you do a Loki introspective, but not only to look at yourself, but multiple variants of oneself? It's impossible to escape. Alyssa, what did you think about you? What about you? What did you think about this week's episode? And yeah, really, especially from where we jumped off from last week.
I will say this is definitely my favorite so far. I feel like the first three were definitely setting the table, introducing us to the characters. Last week was really, some people liked it, some didn't, but really diving into the introduction of Sylvie and starting to introduce that relationship between Sylvie and Loki. So just kind of really still setting things up. So now we're into the second half of the season. So I expect things to be moving forward more rapidly now, and they definitely did end this episode. And if they do it right, I'm saying now that this is my favorite so far. If they do it right, this should end up being my third favorite. Like they should they should get better and better, hopefully. It definitely feels like they're building towards something really big and or good, not necessarily big. I don't think we want to fall into that trap again, but something really good, especially for the character of Loki. I agree with everything Corrie was saying about his character development, and I think we're going to get more of that, and we'll get to do it with a variety of different variants of Loki, it looks like, which is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to that. So yeah, I really loved this episode. Definitely my favorite so far.
Yeah, well, there's definitely a lot more payoff, I think, we get this week of all the setup that you were saying that you had in the first three episodes. Corrie, was definitely with you in the sense of last week wasn't my favorite episode by any means. And to me, it was really more of, they set up Sylvie to be such this insurmountable character. And then when we really see her doing, it's kind of like, what? She's just another Loki. She just happened to get that far. So I was kind of let down in that sense and just sort of some of the changes. However, I do see how that time spent really paid off this week. Like you're saying, the opening of the episode showing young girl Loki being taken by the TVA for what we find out later. We don't even get to know what it is, which I think ultimately becomes even more insulting later on. And the terror. I've seen this young actress before, and I apologize. I didn't look up who played her. But I've seen her in a few other things, and she does get that terrified resistance look as she's going through all the steps we laughed at with Elder Loki. Now is a terrifying set of steps for a young child to go through. And I think it really gives us that emotional payoff for what we've seen coming up. I do think that she should have sort of flipped her off. I know it's Disney, we can't do that, but I really think when she closed the door and stepped off, Loki would have been like, "Peace out, I'm out," and there would have been a one-finger salute. But I realize it's Disney, we can't do that. But we also get some payoff for a lot of suspicions, and definitely, Alyssa, you were one of the first to drop your suspicions of the TVA and that there's only lies behind it. And you were right on the money.
Yeah, and specifically, I'm not always right about everything, but I was very proud to get this one right because I specifically said that Mobius is going to have to deal with the fact that everything he's ever been told was a lie, and that was coming. And we did get to see that in this episode. And I'm sure we'll get into it at some point later, but I don't think this is the end of Owen Wilson on the show. And maybe it's the end of this particular variant of Mobius. I don't know, but I don't think we've seen the last of Mobius. It would be a shame that he has this moment where he's figured everything out, that his whole life is a lie, and then he's just gone. I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, I think, I mean, I have to say it. Yeah, maybe we are jumping a little bit, but I kind of think that that's kind of a perfect time to discuss that, because I think That was such a shocking moment because you did have that, all right, they're together, we're out, we're ready to go. And then you're like, there's 2 episodes left. Did you just kill Owen Wilson?
Yeah.
And then when we get to the end and Loki's gone and
yeah.
And you have to suspicion. So luckily this is when we get our post-credit scene, and it does imply that, okay, perhaps the pruning is not what we thought it was. Which again we'll get into, but yeah, I mean that is a perfect way to play with our emotions while they're giving us that great character arc for Loki. I think that was cool because that was another Bill Casey had mentioned here in the chat. Loki has shed a few tears, but he never lets anyone see it, and this is where he starts to kind of let his really true self come out, and we really see his honest responses to things. And yeah, it's really exciting. So yeah, let's dive in. So we had our opening scene with young girl Loki and how she was taken and how that sort of sets off the chain of events because, of course, yes.
I know. I just wanted to note the toys she's playing with in that scene.
Oh, yeah.
They're like a longboat. And then there's like the wolf character, but it's a huge wolf, so it's similar to the wolf that like Hela rides.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was neat to see like an Asgardian version of the Playmobil set equivalent. I'm like, oh, that's what they play with.
It's the kid toys. It's the kid toys version. Well, yeah, I mean, and that's so sweet because it is. It's here's like, what did she do? She's a kid out of just existing. I mean, I guess Sylvie suspects later on it was, well, she was a girl. And so eventually that would throw things off, you know. Is it just the story of the boy Loki? But it does. It gives us that emotional punch, I think, her going through that and that being like where she started off. And
she was also born into that family. So I'm assuming they're implying that she was born into the royal family. So she's a Odyssean instead of a Lofison?
I don't know. She did mention that she was adopted in last week's episode, so I think her origin is probably the same. She just happens to be a female variant as opposed to a male variant.
Yeah, that's what I got too. Because she did. Yeah, you're right. She did mention she's adopted.
Us girls were just so dangerous.
Yeah, I actually have a theory on why they took her, but I will. It relates to something else. We'll get to it later. Like I'll get into it later. But
okay, fair enough. Fair enough. But we find out that it's Ravonna who was the hunter in charge at the time. That she lost the variant. So obviously, this gives a nice personal motivation for her to kind of clean up her own mess, and why she's so insistent on finding things. And then we get our first shot of the timekeepers themselves, just for a moment, just enough to kind of whet our appetite. Mm-hmm. But at least it sort of gives us the hint that they are actually there as opposed to just, some illusion for Ravonna. But then again, we also don't know how much she knows. She turned around and go up to the control booth afterwards. But we'll get into the Hall of Presidents later on.
It's the Wizard of Oz. It's like a weird, spacey Wizard of Oz, right?
Yeah, I've heard the timekeepers likened to Chuck E. Cheese as well. The that animatronic, like the Hall of Presidents, all of that and stuff. It's very. I mean, we don't get that until later. We're still we're still in that first scene where we don't get to that point yet.
Pay no attention to the man behind the
curtain. Yeah, definitely very, very Wizard of Oz vibes in the end there.
But the first real big bit of information we get here is, of course, that Hunter C-20 is dead. Mobius is trying to check in with Ravonna, wants to pursue things out, and we get that first hint that she is gone. Not only is she dead, but it's a result of dealing with Sylvie, and that we want to keep it under wraps. So already it's the layering of the secrets and the lies and the manipulations. And this might...
Oh, I'm sorry. As soon as she said that, I was like, yeah, and you killed her. Like, you so killed I mean, whatever. You so killed her.
But I think it was perfect because this is kind of the first real lie that we know that Ravonna tells Mobius that he learned really is untrue. Long before really Loki starts to set anything. So I think this is really also the move that starts to get that. And what we get later on in Hunter C-15's responses to everything. Who I think, God, really for one of the background characters plays that arc of discovery so well in this episode. You know, it's the anxiousness to catch. Is it to catch them or to stop them or to confront something? And then the thoughts as she starts to really work through it. Really enjoyed all those little moments.
Yeah, well, it's a really good actress. She was also in Lovecraft Country. And then there's something else she was in that I learned that I'm forgetting, but she's really good. And yes, I've also seen it pointed out that she was kind of anti-variant, like variant phobic, like anti-variant earlier on. She's like, oh, you're just a disgusting variant. And then later to find out that she herself is one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the mind trick that this all plays with, you know. That's what'll make anything come down is when those secrets and false columns start to crumble underneath the facade.
And also the fact that they give everyone the same name. It's very similar to like giving a prisoner a number, 24601 instead of Jean Valjean, right? You take away their identity, you take away their individuality, and you label them as something other. And so I was seeing a lot of like World War II, Nazi, sort of Hitler, Jew sort of ideas within that framework of how they set things up as you're a variant, you're an other, you're a mistake, you're not meant to be here.
Well, yeah, because especially considering just how brutal the job is it's easy if you think about, well, you're here to protect something sacred, and we have Ravonna repeating throughout this, oh yeah, just like protecting the sacred timeline, the sacred time. It's all about the sacred timeline, you know.
Your job is important. You're like, you know, those lies of what you're doing matters.
Sure.
But what you're doing is actually destroying the world around you.
Which is probably why it's so dangerous for anything to get out, because it's one thing just to tell a lie. It's another thing to have everyone's entire, you know, a belief system built upon that. And then when that is gone, you know, people don't just go, well, okay, we'll accept it. Usually they'll revolt in very violent, energetic ways, let us say. All right, so we've got a C-20 being killed. We get to, okay, well, let's, I guess, get to the planet. We get the Nexus event, which ends up drawing the Timekeepers in. The nice, beautiful shot of Sylvie and Loki sitting on a rock as a planet collides with them. Or is it the planet or the moon that's colliding with them? Or are they colliding with it?
Everything's just colliding.
It's just, there's,
everything.
I think the moon was, in the last episode, looked like the moon was falling apart on the planet. Yeah. Or they're on the moon. I don't know. Something's colliding.
Sure. Gravity, the two things are coming together. That's like you're saying. That's really the important part. There's about to be explosions and death. And we get a very personal moment. We get Loki apologizing. We get Sylvie kind of giving her little personal background on what life has been like for her, which, again, pretty terrifying. We get a couple of nice lines out of this. Let's see, I wrote one down. The universe wants to break free, so it manifests chaos. Hence, a goddess of mischief instead of a god of mischief in that particular universe. I just thought that was kind of a perfect line because they've really manifested these two characters as really more chaotic influence than evil, which has been a nice evolution of the character from the original old Marvel, where our variant here is all just, against Thor, everything's evil. We've had Hiddleston's Loki be a little bit more of a chaos agent, And I think that makes things more interesting. It makes things a little bit more personable. They're just being who they are, rebelling in some ways against structure. Yeah.
I liked that we actually see, or at least what I picked up, is that it's the first time for Loki that he's in a relationship, however you want to define that, where he doesn't have baggage attached with that person. Like his relationship with Thor, it's one of love, but it's also one of hatred. They're siblings, it's rivalry. Like he's never able to actually just be the brother of Thor. There's always something that sets him off. He can never really be the son of Odin. There's always a baggage there, even if it's his mother. And so with Sylvie, although they are at odds when they first meet, he has no reason, there's no history for him to be like, oh, I hate you, or you drive me nuts, or it's actually starting new. And so he can't bring any baggage really into that to begin with. And so we start to see him actually being able to express his true emotions without having the baggage, seeping into that and tempering it and or poisoning it.
Sure. Well, I mean, but it's also, you're opening up to yourself, really. I mean,
yeah. So it's kind of like a therapy session, right? He's like admitting he's been lying to himself about a lot of things. Right?
Well, and it's her opening up to him as well. It's only at the end where she can really kind of let down her guard and be able to say the story of who she was, what brought her there and what her manifestation is. So that's, in both of them, the fact that he sits and his first line is, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It was just awesome because the reaction was so perfect. It was like that tension of like, you messed everything up. And it's like, yeah, I know. You tried. We both tried. What are you going to do?
The two magic words in any conflict. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and it actually seemed like he genuinely meant it too, which is surprising, which is a big step for him, actually. Yeah, I know a lot of people, you joke about, he's talking to himself, he's falling in love with himself, but it's a different version of himself. It is not him. They're two separate people. Like he doesn't have access to her thoughts and his. They are two distinct people. And their experiences make them two different people. Their genders make them two different people. And she obviously has very, very different experiences than he does. So yeah, at the basic level, they are the same person from two different timelines, but they are two different people at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. That was. Go ahead.
I'm just saying I completely agree. And yes, I do like to joke, of course, it's himself. And that's the thing that Owen Wilson, that Mobius kind of focuses on. But you are right. I mean, actually, both of you ladies are right. It is a different person for him, and he doesn't have anything else attached or weighing on it that he can just look at her. The fact that he's just like, you've been on the run as a kid and you nearly took down the most powerful organization in the universe. You're amazing. That's...
Well, thank you.
But it's cool. This is not something he didn't get to do that. He just found out about the place and she's been doing all of these amazing kinds of stuff. I think it is. I think it's that moment where both of them can really just have that honesty. And in that moment of honesty, isn't that kind of just where love begins? Any type of love. I'm not even talking just romantic love, but that kind of mutual appreciation.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I found a bit weird is that he is still technically falling in love with himself. And so I'm like, is this narcissism? Is this a form of incest? Like, what's going on here? This is weird.
Yeah. But again, I think Alyssa's right there. It is him, but it isn't him. It is a different version, but maybe it's the one that he can be the most honest and start with. And apparently it can break the universe.
Yeah. The only way for him to actually open up is to find someone that he would feel that attraction towards and be able to be vulnerable with, which might start off being just himself.
Yeah.
Still weird though.
Well, it is, and the fact that they don't necessarily at this point really get to it, I think, in the sense of an admittance or a back and forth, is it mutual? You could see that they both just had that, I don't know, quiet moment at the end where you really identify with somebody and really open up. And when you have two agents of chaos doing that, again, apparently it's enough to cause an unseen variant spike or Nexus spike or what is the lines called again?
It's the Nexus event.
It is a Nexus event.
They called it a Nexus event when that line was spiking up.
When they're actually not engaged in chaos, they're actually at peace. It's like, what?
Well, yeah, and it's kind of an interesting thing because to me they were talking about, what was Loki's line? When he asked, what is it that makes a Loki? Is it because we lose? He goes, no, we may lose spectacular sometimes, but we survive.
Yeah,
we don't die.
We're survivors.
Would the two of them together potentially survive that catastrophe? Was it just that presence of chaos? Because that was the only thing that could change a world-ending event where there are no survivors.
The only thing that I could think was that maybe just the act of them showing two Lokis showing love for each other somehow causes chaos throughout the timeline that lasts even after they're both dead. So, because they're in the apocalypse, so they're about to die. So it shouldn't matter. But whatever. Hopefully we get some more explanation to this later. Whatever it was that they caused the Nexus event was something that would override death. Like even after they're dead, whatever they just did something that caused some kind of ripple through the timeline that will continue even after they're gone. That's the only thing that I could think of, that the death does not eliminate whatever it was that they just caused. And I'm hoping we get a little more information on what exactly that was.
And it seems like they're both at their core looking for acceptance and love in a way. I mean, we know Loki from the very beginning was just wanting to be accepted, which is why he has that argument with his father where he's like, tell me why you took me. Like, what is my purpose? Why, why am I here? Why do I matter to you? And we know with Sylvie that she had some kind of a relationship briefly with another person while she was jumping between.
There's the postman, right? Yeah.
Postman, yeah. Which, I mean, we can make a joke about. She's always around things that are postal. I don't know.
It was Kevin Costner. So,
Oh, God.
Okay. Well,
sorry.
But
you just got to reference the worst Kevin Costner movie.
Well, exactly. It was an apocalypse. It ended his career. That's why nobody detected.
Yeah, that is very true.
But it's interesting that they both, when you strip everything away, they just want to be accepted and loved, which everyone does.
Sure.
Even villains, apparently, who might not actually be villains. Which, another side point, is Sylvie actually a good character? Because we see her as a child in her childlike, potentially innocent state when she's pulled into the TVA and that man is being manhandled and hurt. Her response is to scream out, someone help him.
Oh, yes. Totally sympathetic. I mean, she may have been a god of not quite so mischief. Maybe that's what.
It's hard for me to view her as a villain at all, honestly. She was originally portrayed that way. And actually, I said this too last time I was here, that I didn't think she would really be evil before we actually got to meet her. And she seems really sympathetic, and she was just a little girl playing with her little Asgardian toys, and she was taken away and's been running from them her whole life, and the only way to stop it would, in her mind, was to destroy the Timekeepers. Like, why wouldn't she do that? Like, there's nothing evil about that, as far as I can tell.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's also yes, cute, innocent girl can easily have become an evil person. We can't just say because she started one way, she currently is another. However, it does make her character much more sympathetic. It changes the entire way that we see her. And even the way that she deals with B-15 later on is a different, more sympathetic way. When she's talking with, mentioning how much she can't create memories, that these things are already there. You know, she's trying to
Connect.
I think relate. Connect exactly in that sense. And not just be an other. Because they're variants hunting variants, she knows in her mind, you know. All right, so we get rescued by the TVA.
Which I totally saw coming. I was like, yes, that was my guess from last episode, that they would be rescued because they'd cause a Nexus event.
Sure, it was what was going to be the cause of it. I thought like Loki is like, well, I'm just going to do as much crazy things and see what goes on. Obviously,
falling in love.
Yeah,
crazy stuff.
Two demigods of chaos.
That's much better than the theories of one of them is enchanting the other, or she's enchanting him, and everything is just fake. I really didn't want that to be the case. So I was much happier that this is how they end up getting off the planet.
Oh, I agree. I thought that would have been a total cheat if they had done that. So I really applaud it. And definitely, they're going in directions I couldn't predict, and I love that. And I am loving everything that they're doing, especially with this episode, because we get the return of Lady Sif.
Oh yes,
at the time prison, softening Loki up. First off, it has been since Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that we've seen Lady Sif. So always nice to have her return back. And I also
with a new haircut.
Yes. Well, and I had appreciated too the fact that it was supposed to be this week and should still be before next episode. That we're doing a time loop special over on Enchantment of Eternity. The fact that he gets caught, it's not really a time loop per se, but it's the same basic type of thing.
It is. It kind of
is. Cruel and unnatural punishment, just like reliving a horrible memory over and over and over. Someone in the comments was like, in one of the videos I looked, he's like, that's just me every night before I go to bed. Why did I say that? Why did I say that?
It's interesting that was the moment. How did they choose the moment? Because it seems like he would have much worse moments than that. How about like when the Hulk smashed him on the ground a bunch of times? Like if he had to relive that over and over again, I think that would be even more painful. It seemed like a way just to kind of give that actress a cameo, which is great. It was good to see her.
Sure. No. I agree. Definitely. It was fun too. But in a way, I think this is Mobius's personal payback. Because remember when he pulls Loki in before he ends up throwing him into the cell, you know, he's another bit of folksy dope from a bit of dopey folksiness from the folksy dope. God, I can't remember what the actual thing is, but he's poking fun at Mobius about whatever, you know, bit of information he's going to give. What are you going to call me, the god of self-sabotage? It's like, how about just kind of an asshole and a bad friend? Calls him a friend. There's no reason that he had to throw that in there. So I think we are seeing here that the kind of idea is that there maybe was a little liking connection with Loki. The fact that he knows it's that personal connection that even Loki was saying, because Sif's, the prison isn't just this is hurting you to soften you up. Yeah, he does get kneed in the nards and punched in the face, but it's also Sif reminding him, you will be alone and you will always be alone.
Yeah.
The one thing a narcissist craving attention fears the most. And I think Mobius chose that because that's how he feels in response. I was showing you friendship and you betrayed me, and so now I'm going to poke at your soft spot. And to me, it's nice because it gives that impression that Mobius had kind of an actual connection with Loki, and it's not just, using a variant to get information.
I also wonder if indirectly he's actually helping Loki to become a better person.
Sure. Hold on one second. My cord disconnected here.
Instead of Loki failing to help other people become better versions of themselves, we're actually seeing Loki, ironically, become a better version of himself instead of failing.
Yeah. Do we know that Mobius was able to choose that memory? Like, how does that work? Is he able to scan his head specifically and find a memory? I just thought it was random, but that does make sense what you're saying, why Mobius would choose it. I just hadn't considered that he has that ability to choose a specific memory out of Loki's head.
He had implied a while ago that he had studied like every aspect of Loki's life in order to bring him in, and he was playing with this little thing, so I think he was could easily be like, okay, set up the time punishment room and we'll choose this memory. Oh, this will get him. Oh yeah, Sif kicking him in the nuts, tell him he's always going to be alone. That'll be awesome. That'll get him. Some French he is. I'm sorry, that's what was going through Owen Wilson's head while he was playing that moment. I thought I'd give your work in there.
Wow. It all makes sense now.
Yes, Allison is agreeing. It was an awesome scene. And with there, April mentioning work your Loki. That's how you work your Loki. You have Sif work your Loki for you.
Poor Loki.
Bill Casey, I don't know. And as Guardian, need of the balls is a contender. Yes, that is a pretty serious one.
Although I like how we see him like break down over all of the different encounters. Like at first it's like, hey, Sif, yeah, hilarious, right? And it's like humor. He's using humor to reflect or deflect.
Yeah, and he's like, right after this, I went and had a bath and drank some wine. Great choice,
Yeah, and so it's like the rage and the anger, which is obviously always connected with love in some way, shape, or form. It's the therapist background coming out here. But, and then he goes to, he logic, right? You're part of a cycle loop. I need you to help me. That doesn't work. Then it's like, okay. Yeah. I've heard this a million times. I know I'm a terrible person, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't work. And the only thing that stops it is him actually admitting to himself and the digital Sif why he does the things he does. Again, therapy session, right? And apologizing for it and actually feeling bad about it. Like, I realized that for me it was a joke, but for you it wasn't funny, and I'm sorry. And yeah, that was a terrible thing to do. And I did it because I wanted attention, and I did it because I fear being alone.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, but I think that arc only works because it's the payoff of the rest of the arc that they've set up in the past few episodes of him dealing with himself and slowly being broken down. This is kind of him in a way breaking himself down. The only reason to deal with it is that moment of self-honesty. This is why I do things. This is who I am. This is wrong. He's learning the arc even better than original Loki, MCU main timeline Loki,
Earth 66 whatever
616
or
Sacred Timeline Loki, right? It's a Sacred Timeline.
The Sacred Timeline Loki. Yes, thank you.
That's the MCU is the Sacred Timeline.
Sure.
Yes.
That's a much better term, because I think 616 is the comics universe. I think was it 1999 or something is the MCU universe? I can't remember all of the numbers are. Which there'll be an encyclopedia, I'm sure, that will tell us what all of the different Earth manifestations are.
I mean, I like that. I mean, it's so sad that she says you deserve to be alone and you always will be, which isn't true, because he wasn't alone. He had his family. He had Thor. He chose to isolate himself from them with his actions and whatnot.
Well, sure, but ultimately that's why he would be always alone.
Yeah.
Tagline on that is, that's Loki, but this is becoming a new Loki, and that Loki's manifestation isn't going to isn't going to go in the same way. And
Which
I think
is
that's
why.
what.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I just think that's what a lot of this show really is manifesting about. Why we're dealing with variants and the choices and the lives we make and how they go is, for Loki, it's Silver Surfer mentions MCU is 19,999. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. 1999.99. I think the show is all about Loki kind of, that self-exploration and looking into himself and moving on to a new version of self.
Which is why I think it's so powerful that then Mobius shows up and asks, do you really think you're going to be alone forever? Answer the question. Because if you don't, I can help you. But I need to know the answer to that question.
Sure. So. But of course, that all comes after our other big almost goodbye interview there with Mobius and Loki, where Loki we find out about that it's the love that nearly broke the universe in a very Mobius kind of insulting way. But more to the point where Loki lets Mobius know that he is in fact a variant, that all of the TVA are variants. And of course, he's not going to believe him, but it's said, and with everything else that's going on, and his weird feelings from Ravonna, well, that causes him to have a little interesting conversation with her, which leads him, of course, back to Loki. The fallout with Ravonna and Mobius.
Yeah, and I love the way Owen Wilson played that scene because he goes, "Nice try." And the way that he said it just really showed to me that he was saying that to Loki, but he, at the same time, he was having doubts.
It's always already.
The wheels were turning. He was like, "Yeah, nice try." He didn't want Loki to know that, but it was definitely, he was starting to suspect things.
Well, and I think they set that up too when he's able to suss out of Loki the fact that, oh my God, you like her.
Yeah.
While Loki's trying to play off, it's like, good, glad that it's gone. It's like, okay, well, this is your lying face. I know your lying face, and I can sort that out. But then when he tells him this, that's not his lying face. He's been able to suss whenever he's lied it. He's known it before. And I think you're totally right there, Alyssa. It's exactly like, I can't let you know that I believe you, but I don't think you're lying right now.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's so much of like the boy who cried wolf. Loki has lied so many times, and then the one time he tries to tell the truth, nobody believes him because he's known as the liar, right?
Sure, of course.
I also like that. I love the conversations that Ravonna and Mobius have, where he's trying to read her and trying to like suss out information, and he's asking like, why didn't you let me interview Sylvie? He calls her by her name instead of the variant,
right?
And he says, if there's a mastermind here, I don't think it's Loki. So he's starting to pick things up.
Well, I think that's great too, seeing his detective work now turned back against it. He's like, I don't want to believe it, but you're given like every signal that you're lying and hiding something possible. I think that was kind of the fun thing. And the fact that Ravonna keeps mentioning back to, again, the sacred timeline. Oh, it's worth protecting the sacred timeline. Where on the sacred timeline would you like to go? Setting up our wonderful question that Mobius responds to later on.
And I got the sense she was fishing for something with him there, but she kept asking him. Like, I don't think she was really just curious, like where he would like to go, which is the way she presented it. Like, or just making conversation. I feel like she suspected him a little bit because he was acting a little weird, and she was fishing for something. I don't know exactly what, but I don't think that was just an innocent question.
No, I don't think that it was either, but I think she was actually trying to play him. I think that it was partial distraction and partially is like, hey, things are moving up. Hey, the timekeepers want you there. Hey, people are noticing things. You're doing the right stuff. Hey, if you could go anywhere, where would you want to go? I think she's trying to dangle the carrot in front of him and is frustrated that he's like, yeah, that's great. Why wouldn't you let me see C20? What's up with that? Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, but why couldn't I talk to the variant? He keeps pressing those buttons, and she's trying to be like, no, carrot. Watch. Ooh, come. Look at me. I'm gonna hang out with you. We'll have a couple of drinks. What, you're leaving already? I mean, she was putting out everything to try and keep him into the TVA, and I think the fact that he just kept asking questions.
And I love that she lies. She gives him a lie to hopefully satisfy him. Like, he keeps asking questions, and so her response is, okay, I'll tell you a partial truth, and then hopefully you'll take that and go with it, which is, the reason I wouldn't let you interview the Sylvie character is because I was concerned for you. One person already went crazy because of her. I didn't want it happening to you. You're my favorite, analyst. And anytime someone's overly praising of you and your abilities, the red flag should be going up, because it's like, what are you not telling me? Why are you suddenly trying to sugarcoat everything?
There may have been a little bit of truth in that, though, because I do think she genuinely likes him and doesn't want him to have his memories resurface so that she has to kill him like she killed C20.
Yeah.
So in a way, I think she was kind of protecting him. But yeah, she was totally deceitful in that interaction as well. Yeah.
Well, yeah, she definitely lays out that it's like, I want to protect you. Unless you push too hard, and then I got no problem putting things out.
Well, she wants to protect him from her having to do that to him. Like, if he pushes this too far, then she'll have no choice but to eliminate him as well. And she doesn't want to have. I think she was genuine and didn't want to have to do that, but she would if he pushed it too far.
She considers them friends, right? She has that line about a friendship like ours is. You know how rare a friendship like ours is. How much of that is a friendship and how much of that is her using him? Sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it does go both ways. I think that she does have a friendship and a connection. I mean, he certainly likes her, and I think that's works to their benefit. But I think, she definitely has her loyalties go to a certain point. April Lee's mentioning in the chat, wonder if she was trying to figure out if he was compromised like C20. And Alyssa, barring your question of where would you like to go? If he was like, well, the 90s and back to my jet ski, I think that would have been pruned right there in the office. So, you're right. How much is he remembering at that point? But I got to tell you, I think my favorite Owen Wilson moment this episode is the one that happens just afterwards when he sneaks down to the library and he's gotten her thing and he looks to see C20 is deceased. Yeah. And then he pauses and he's like, well, what's this last recording? When he sees that it's Ravonna, when he's standing there as just that uncomfortable realization. I mean, this isn't the wow Owen Wilson, or they kind of hang out the Zoolander Owen Wilson. This is a mature company man who just had his whole world crushed right in front of him. And it was a small moment, but I just loved it because it also, it wasn't sexy or fighting or action oriented. It was just this pulled into self kind of moment. I just really enjoyed that. It was really just such a perfect manifestation of how Mobius would react. I'm sorry. I love Owen Wilson in this. It's one of the favorite things that I've seen him in. So,
and that he zooms in on her face at the very end, and you can see the kind of terror in her eyes of, oh my word.
Yeah.
We have compromised people here. We need to destroy everything.
But why did she record it and then why did she not delete it?
She's sending it to Kang.
He likes that type of stuff. It's corporate. Look, everything is filed, and it will be erased when that part of the contract is done. There's no independent thought in the TVA. Everything has to go by checkmark.
Yeah.
This is where bureaucracy gets you. But that is a good question. Why would you keep that? I don't know. I have no answer for that outside of bureaucracy. And plot points.
Yeah, and so the show could happen. So that
Exactly. So
side note, other favorite line that Loki says, she's difficult and irritating and she tries to hit me all the time. I'm like, you can apply that to any relationship, you know? Like,
it's funny because they did do like reverse of Mobius right there. And that's what I saw in his reaction. It's like, it sounds like you're a married couple.
Or like you're describing yourself. This is how I feel about you.
No, I think that was great. So we get, so that realizes we get the wonderful little interaction there, the fatherly pep talk from Mobius, which, it's great. You could be whoever or whatever you want to be, even someone good. In case nobody ever told you that. No. Well, and also Loki does the same thing. As Mobius is sort of freaking out, he's like, so I've got to trust the word of two Lokis. This is where Loki gets to turn that around and says, well, how about the word of a friend? Yeah. Again, reassuring. You were angry because you thought I betrayed your friendship. But no, I want to be your friend. And I think that I think there is an honesty in that. And I think we see that in the payoff afterwards when post pep talk and they're ready to take over the world and Mobius goes bye-bye. Seriously, who else freaked out at that moment?
I wasn't expecting it. I knew something bad was coming at some point, but I thought we were doing okay because Mobius was like, he was cool, he was calm. Again, I just was thinking back to like World War II movies where someone gets caught and they're trying to like calmly talk to the SSR officer to try to get out of it, and then they're just shot. Like he was doing so well, and I'm like, just hand it back. Be like, I grabbed the wrong comm receiver thing. I'm sorry. Like, what's going on? He was playing it cool, and then he was toasted.
Well, but I love. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say it was initially shocking, but then I immediately went to, there's no way he's off the show. There's no way. Yeah. And that was before, the post-credit scene where we see what happens to Loki when he was pruned. That I was like, at the very least, they're going to bring back another variant of him. Like, we will see him. We will see him again. Yeah. I was like, he can't. There's no way he's off the show. He can't be. No, he can't be.
Yeah. Silver Surfer mentioning, I screamed no like Vader. No. Yeah. Well, especially, and I love the fact that it was quick too. It was, like you said, oh, I'm sorry, I messed it up. My bad. He plays it once, like, what's up? And then was just, okay, gig's up. Yeah. You know where I want to go? Wherever I came from. Maybe I had a jet ski. I love that he appreciated that. That's where he came from. But yeah, the fact that he gets taken out, the exact same thing was like, what are you doing? You can't know. And yes, it could bring back a variant, but it's all about these character arcs, and you can't, Matt, you'd have to restart from the beginning with the new variant of him. So, but I mean, really, to go into a last couple episodes on that bit, I think it, at least for me as an audience member, was like, I have no idea what you're going to do now, because I was expecting this whole like jailbreak, go get him scene. But Loki's response, I think, was the most honest on anger. I mean, that's when he struggles against the guards. When he was pulled away from Sylvie, that was one. On this, he struggled, that angry face that you are going to pay. That when they do bring Sylvie up, her first thing, are you okay?
Yeah.
I love the honorable, noble head nod. So they're getting ready to come up the timekeepers. But Sylvie's had a little visitor herself, as noticed by the wet hair. I love that we just see that. It's just the wet hair afterwards to let them know something has gone wrong. But that's that little visit from B-15.
Yep.
Who is beautifully portrayed this evolution of confusion and thought, and then I need to know. And the fact that they go back to Roxxon. So that's where you get to have private conversations, so everybody knows it's apocalypses. Those are definitely the way to do things. The fact they go back, or not Roxxon, Roxcart, Roxmart,
Roxmart, I think.
Roxmart?
I think it's Roxmart, like kind of.
Roxxon, Walmart, the Roxmart.
Roxmart, yeah.
To have conversations that you can't be spied on by the TVA. But her honest, again, conversation with Sylvie, it's not an angry one. And like you had mentioned, Corrie, she was always so very anti-variant in her manifestations and the way that she looked at everything. Now she's like, come with me, and just walks through a door. I mean, to see that sort of level of evolution, the fact that, did you make this up? No, I can't create memories. They're already there. Show me. Rich room, Rock's cart. Okay. I thought there was a C in there.
Yeah, anytime you want to have a clandestine meeting with your significant other, just go to an apocalypse. They'll never see it coming.
That's right. They can't spy on you there. But yeah, Silver mentions this great scene with Sylvie and B-15 acted the hell out of that scene. Yeah, it was just this is why we've seen what the TVA fears the most. Any reflection in of their past lives is going to cause chaos. It happened with C-20, and we're seeing it again here with B-15. And they're not. Well, again, you have a power in charge. You find out the lies that everything was built on. You're really going to fight back on that.
And Sylvie's end of that scene it was just another example of why it's really hard for me to see her as a villain, because she really showed empathy for B-15. Yes. She's really like, yeah, that sucks that they did that to you. I mean, she definitely feels bad for her, and it was just. Well,
I think it's that identity. Like, if you see that you're a variant like me, then you understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they connect in that way. She empathizes with her in that way because she's had similar, issues with the TVA.
And I like that they didn't have to do a jump back in time, or they didn't have to give us a visual cue. We just stayed on that actor's face, and everything that was happening was read through her face, or her features, and her reactions, and her acting.
Yeah,
which really shows. I mean, that's good acting. If you can do that without using, cutting to another scene, you don't tell you're showing through that actor's talent and abilities.
Yeah, because we get to see the effect on. I was happy. I looked happy. And now I'm here. Yeah, it was. I think that those little choices, I think this show has done beautifully when they focused a lot on the showing me and not telling me things. We're showing me by trusting the actor's response and interaction off of things, and not leaning on a crutch like a flashback scene to handhold us through those moments.
And with Tom Hiddleston, like, he's a Shakespearean trained actor, so he has the chops. Like, let him go and run with it, because he can do it.
Well, yeah, but again, even everyone, B-15, who again, Alyssa was saying was in Lovecraft country. I mean, she's done an amazing job. They're really pulling off of some really talented actors and trusting their work. It's like we put you in the role, now we trust you to play that role out. It's whoever's making these choices is beautiful. Some Kevin guy, I think he's got a future. So this all leads us to our Hall of Presidents. I'm sorry, Hall of Timekeepers. But that's all that I could think of when we were watching this happen, especially at post-fight scene. That we've got Lincoln up there with George Washington and Thomas Jefferson overruling the giant timeline. We got to see them. I like the fact that they gave us that payoff and then still messed with us afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, I never really believed the timekeepers were real, but I was questioning: are they real? Or are they real enough that there's something that we can see, or we're just going to find out the whole thing was faked? I was happy to see them. I was happy to get that. I actually really like the Wizard of Oz moment. I was hoping that that's how that they would do it. And as soon as they started talking, I was like, come on, you guys are falling for this? They're so fake.
What do you mean? Trust the sacred timeline.
The one guy with the mustache, all I could think was like he's a Dr. Seuss character that's
he
come
looks
to
like
life.
the Lorax. He
Yes,
looks just like the Lorax.
But and he talked like he had like he was eating half of his mustache at the time.
These are the people
I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees.
I'm like, these are the people we're trusting with our timeline. I have serious doubts about our future now.
Yes, indeed. Also, just sorry, I want to jump back to chat from our previous talk. April E is mentioning that Wunmi Masaku is amazing, who's playing Hunter B-15. And Bill Casey, Sarah Haley Finn. Sarah Haley Finn is such a great casting director. She's Marvel's secret weapon. You know, I did look into who was doing the casting, and Bill, you are right on it. She's doing an amazing job. But yeah, I love the Hall of Presidents scene. It was a nice kind of standoff. We knew we were going to have a big fight hand-to-hand, which is great. B-15, obviously freeing them, jumps in, throws the sword, and then is quickly KO'd and taken out of the fight. So we could have everything focused on the Lokis.
Very like Star Wars-esque feeling for that. Like it reminded me of the throne room fight scene with a bit in the way of, I don't know. Some of the reviews I was seeing, people weren't really impressed with that fight scene. They felt it was a bit called in. I don't know. What were your ideas? What did you guys think?
Honestly, I didn't really enjoy it, but it was also felt like obligatory fight scene. Just the way that it's sort of set up and they brought in, and we've had so many of those combats. Even the big fight on the train was like obligatory fight scene. Even though there was some great stuff on it, the run through the city at the end, the encounter in the clothing store or whatever, when the guards come in to try and shoot them, it's like, why are you fighting and doing that? There's a few moments. Yeah, there's a few moments where it feels like they just throw in these fights because we have to have an action moment.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not watching this show for the fight scenes. The fight scenes leave a lot to be desired. You're right. They're just like, oh, we have to have our obligatory fight scenes. But I'm not really worried about the fight scenes being good. If the fight scenes suck, and Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, that's going to be a big disappointment.
Yes, agreed.
But here it's just like, yeah, whatever. You got to have your obligatory fight scenes, but that's not what I'm interested in this show.
Yeah,
I don't know. I just like WandaVision didn't have a ton of fight scenes, but the things that they did really well, and they weren't even supposed to be a fight, show. So I was just a bit disappointed that Loki didn't live up to that, because we're dealing with characters that are supposed to be very well trained. I mean, Sylvie has been running from them for her whole life. These guards and hunters have been doing this for a while. It's their job. Loki is an Asgardian prince who would have been trained in combat.
Well,
so
they just like picking up and tossing them across the room too. Aren't Asgardians strong?
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, so, and April E says it wasn't choreographed well, which is absolutely. I feel that way about all the fight scenes we've seen in Loki.
They're big, they're grouped, they're very standard. I'm sure they kind of straightforward to bring together. You get cameras, you get action. I mean, I get why they're throwing him in, but yeah, that's not what I'm watching the show for. And I don't think we need to really spend unnecessary time on stuff. If you're going to do a fight scene, do a great fight scene. Otherwise, just knock them out, pick up one guy, throw him against the others, and then it's all over with. Be strong.
Yeah.
You're an Asgardian god.
Yeah, that was the other thing. Why was he struggling so much with the guards if he is an Asgardian and he's supposed to be so strong?
Well, even Sylvie with Ravona's a human as well. I mean, I guess as far as we know, she could be, another alien that just looks human, I suppose. But yeah, we can move on from that because that's not really the exciting part of the scene. The exciting part of the scene is look, when people are like, I got to tell you something, that they're either dead, knocked out, or something's about to blow up.
Like, tell me quick, like now.
And again, I'm sure there are other people screaming when it actually happened, but beforehand, was there anybody else asking, did you just knock out Ravonna or did you kill her? So you should probably take care of that.
Yes, exactly. I'm like, you just punched her and then left her? Are you like, have you not watched horror movies? You double tap to make sure they are dead. You do not kill them once and go. Like, where were you brought up? Asgard? Honestly. Yeah.
So again, it wasn't, you knew something was going to happen when I got to tell you something. And now this is hard for me. I have to stall, but make it look really impressive, like something big's about to happen. But not being pruned, my God, just disappear. Bye, Tom Hiddleston. I know it's your show. There's 2 episodes left, but you're dead now.
I love how they did the actual pruning. Like, she literally pushed the prune rod through him, and all we see is her strike as he dissipates. That was well done. I like
that. So yes, much like Alyssa was saying, at this moment there is the shock, but it's also well, you got to bring him back. Some of that you can't end the show. No, but I also thought for a moment of, well, this is a good sign for Mobius. Because if you just pruned Loki and the show's about him, you will have to be able to bring him back. Or, I mean, something has to happen, right? Is Sylvie going to go back in time in the TVA 10 minutes and keep them alive? Or, what's going to happen? And I love that we get the moment between her and Ravonna.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that Ravonna says, just do it, just kill me, which tells me, I think Ravonna is definitely in the know of what's happening, but she's not in control. She may be somewhat in being manipulated and controlled herself, or she is in a situation where she has no choice to go along with whatever it is. And because she's like, yeah, just go ahead and kill me. So I can just be done with it. So I can get out of this. So I found that reaction really interesting, and that does tell me that she's probably in the know, but I don't think she's in charge. Gang, excuse me, gang. I don't think she's in charge.
Yeah. No, I think you're totally true, because this isn't somebody that can I can trade for my life or I am important. Yeah. This is, again, you're not really upper management, maybe upper middle management, lower upper management, but you ain't at the top, man. You don't have the executive office.
And everything went wrong for her this episode. So at this point, she's like, well, either you kill me or they do.
But yeah, obviously we get the loss of Sylvie. I'm not going to kill you, but you're going to tell me everything. Whether she wants to tell her or not, because she could just take her to some place where magic works and do a little enchant and go play in her memories if she wanted.
Yeah, that would be the only way she could get that information, because my first thought was, well, she just said, go ahead and kill me. So why would she tell you anything? She wants you to kill her. Yeah. What's she afraid of? You killing her? That's what she wants. So there would be no reason for her to tell her anything. But that that does make sense that maybe she would take her somewhere where magic works and she could enchant her.
Right. Because obviously B-15's just KO'd and she's got one of those little travel devices on.
Yeah.
Right.
The other thing is she says, go ahead, kill me. But Sylvie's holding the like pruning rod and that doesn't kill people.
Well, maybe
so does that mean, does she think it kills people?
She might. Maybe she doesn't realize that Loki.
Well, that's,
yeah.
I think you're right. I think that she does. I think this is the limit of what her knowledge of how the system works is. She thinks this would kill her because I didn't get that just kill me like a dare. Like I secretly know that this is a way out.
Yeah,
it was a resignation. Just kill me.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So yeah, I mean, okay. So we think, obviously, or we don't know if this is the end of Loki, but we do have our first episode that does, in fact, have a post-credit scene. And I know all of us have gone through the episodes, whether there's a post-credit scene or not, just to see if there is one, which is how I noticed the foreign language credits a couple of weeks back.
I was very pleasantly surprised because I believe this is the first Disney Plus show where we've gotten one as early as episode 4. I think the other two, we got our first one in episode 5. So I really was not expecting one. I thought that we were going to be left hanging about what happened to Loki until next week. And then I'm falling asleep on my couch, because it's 1 a.m. and I'm like, oh my God, there's Loki. Oh my God.
I mean, again, it was a shock, and I think this is the smart way to play it too, because you can't tease any future episodes or what's coming up next or anything, and I apparently leave this part out. There would be too many questions sort of hanging out there. So I think it is a perfect way to give us those few moments of like, well, what are you going to do? And then let you know, because they know the internet's going to start leaking stuff. They're going to be like, oh, he's alive in the next episode, or so-and-so says you got to wait, or, there's going to be stuff that's going to come out. Yeah. And Disney's going to want to tease whatever's coming up. So I think this is the perfect place to just let us suffer for just a moment with the not knowing, and then get the little insight that maybe everything is going to be okay. Despite the fact that we may or may not be in hell.
Despite appearances to the opposite, right?
Yeah. Because it's a pretty serious landscape that he opens up. I did believe I saw a crumbled Avengers Tower back there amongst the various buildings. So alternate Earth, where are we? The dead place of all things. Are we hinting at some place that 5 movies down the road will come back to? I don't know.
I thought it was a possible, maybe a timeline where the nuke went off in Avengers, in the Avengers film, or at any point in time, I don't know. There was an apocalypse in New York that doesn't happen in the sacred timeline, and so this is this other timeline, and everybody is dead. So that's the perfect place for them to dump all the Lokis. So they're just dumping all the Lokis in this timeline where there's no other life on Earth because it's all been destroyed.
Well, I thought maybe it was if Loki had actually won against the Avengers, and this is what the future holds for Earth under his rule or something like that. Or
I think we get a lot of fun questions because one thing we definitely know is there are many Lokis.
Yeah.
Suddenly there to pay him, including we get a
Kid Loki.
I pulled this guy out, nice classic Loki.
Played by Richard E. Grant.
Which is awesome. That's such a perfect choice.
Who also played the Scarlet Pimpernel, just so you know.
And then we get Kid Loki, who I believe is the only other comic character that we see. Because obviously classic Loki is all over the comics. I think Kid Loki had one appearance but 10 years ago or something. I didn't get into a whole lot at that point. But I don't remember a crocodile Loki, unless Kid Loki had that as a pet. And I certainly don't remember a Loki Thor hybrid, which it looks like the fourth one is there.
It might be a cross. Sorry, it might be a cross between the worthy Loki from the comics, and then there was another Loki in the comics. But apparently, it was like a Loki who he became worthy, and he actually had a hammer like Thor would have had.
So apparently that character has been credited as Boastful Loki, and it is not one from the comics. It is unique to the show. But that's what he is in the credits. Apparently, he's Boastful Loki.
Boastful Loki. Well, that I mean,
I thought they all were that.
Thor Loki,
yeah.
Boastful Loki 1, Boastful Loki 2.
This one especially because he has kind of a sort of Thor's hammer. I mean, not really. If you look at it closely, it looks like it's made out of a wrench and like it's not really.
I didn't get a close up on that.
Yeah, like the handle looks like a wrench, and then the body, the hammer is like some other doohickey. It's not really it's not a proper hammer. I didn't think, but.
Nice. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, this gives us a lot of nice things in just a brief moment. One, Loki's not dead. Even though he's been killed many times. I love that. I've lost count of the number of times I've been killed. Do your worst. But yeah, not dead, apparently. In a land with other Lokis, evidently a lot of danger in the area, because I believe Richard E. Grant classic Loki's line was something low, but you might soon be, or something like that.
Come with us if you want to live.
Come with us if you want to live. All of us. But yeah, this was awesome because it gave hope that Mobius is still alive out there. Is this the one planet where everybody prune gets to? So is it like in the TVA, if you're reset, you become a TVA worker, and if they prune you, they just send you to an apocalypse planet to battle it out amongst yourselves until you die?
But then why was it all Lokis that greeted him?
They have to stick together?
I mean, is there one is Mobius in a Mobius planet, or they all have their own?
Maybe they have different sections in town. All the Lokis have taken over Hell's Kitchen.
Right.
And
he's in the Loki part of town.
That's right, the Loki part of town.
It's Loki, not high.
They're all gonna get so they're different. Maybe they're different gangs and factions. They'll all fight each other. Lokis versus the Mobiuses versus the Hunter B-15s or whatever. I don't know.
Now, they did say that the Lokis were the most common variant.
Yes, they did.
So it could mainly be the fact that there are more Lokis than other, you've got one Casey, a Mobius, 3 people that used to be Hunter C-20 or something like that. I mean, where you get occasional variants of individuals, but you have actual multiple Lokis because they're goddesses of chaos.
And that one random cart that got pruned by accident.
With the Infinity Stones. That may be somewhere here too.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of Infinity Stones, my question was, if Loki took that one Power Stone and he had it with him, why didn't he use it for all the different time when he was jumping about? And does he still have it?
I don't think he still has it, but
no, I don't think he does either.
Seriously, if everything pruned comes to this planet, that means there is a cart full of Infinity Stones somewhere here. Now, maybe this is another null space planet where magic doesn't work and Infinity Stones don't work. I mean, if you got a bunch of Lokis, you don't want a place where magic works.
Yeah,
and you keep them cordoned off. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm very curious. But there's just hope that you're going to get more of the buddy cop thing happening and Sylvie rescue and
okay.
Yeah,
go on.
I want to my computer. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
All right. I want to get into my theory. What I think is happening here.
Yes, please do.
which also ties into why they went and took Sylvie. I think that somebody, whoever is behind it all, whether you want to say Kang. There's also the theory that it is another variant of Loki who's behind it all, which I don't love. I don't love that theory, although it does actually play into mine. That whoever is behind this all, for whatever reason, maybe because of the fact, as you mentioned earlier, that Loki is an agent of chaos, and they're trying to create the sacred timeline. They're trying to create order, and Loki is the biggest threat. So this Kang or whoever it is just gathering up all the Lokis, and that is why Mobius said before that Loki is the most common variant that I've read, that we've wrangled up is because they're specifically going after Lokis. And that's why they went after Sylvie, simply because she's a Loki variant. And I guess except for maybe the one in the sacred timeline gets to live, and they're going after all of the other Lokis because they are the biggest threat to Kang or whoever is behind everything. While they are trying to create order, this agent of chaos would be the threat. And so why they wouldn't just kill all the Lokis, though, I'm not sure. And why they would stash them all into New York, a post-apocalyptic New York, I don't know. But that's what my theory is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's rules about killing that you can't kill. We can't kill anyone. We just have technology that makes people think they're killed and just. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. That's. Why would you prune someone and send them somewhere if they're not actually dead, unless you have no power or you can't make that choice for some reason, a limitation on one's abilities?
Or maybe they need these Lokis for some future purpose. I don't know. They're just stashing them there in
Battle
New York.
World.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. Well, perfect. Well, I think that covers our week. I think that is a good theory on that. It's certainly more than what I have. I have no idea where they're going. And again, I'd read something from Tom Hiddleston or heard something about Tom Hiddleston that after he got past episode 4, it was the same reaction of like, I have no idea. You guys just went nuts at this point. Because I have no idea where they're going. I have no suggestion from any previous comic or knowledge variant of where they might be setting up. I mean, I could make, I guess, a Battle Planet joke if I want there. We could be getting into early Secret Wars, but I don't think we're doing that. I have no idea what they're doing. And I'm really excited about that.
Who do you think the villain is? Could it be Kang? I mean, I don't think we're getting Jonathan Majors yet. I mean, could it still be Kang behind the scenes, even though we don't really see him? Or,
you know,
someone was mentioning it could be another Loki. Like,
I think I said that while you were off going.
Yeah.
Your computer.
My battery was dying, so I'm like, I can't see. I gotta plug in. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I mean, that's another theory. I don't love that. That it's just all along. It's another Loki.
I don't know. I mean,
it kind of destroys any development of his character up to this point.
Yeah.
If we have a random evil Loki.
Right, because then you know what? I am the superior Loki because I'm the one that survives or whatever. I mean, yeah, I don't know. You're right. That's kind of cheesy. I'm not sure. I mean, most of these shows, as much as we like them laying out stuff and leading to future MCU stuff, the past couple of shows have been relatively self-contained.
Yeah.
So I don't think that they would be introducing a new villain that would go out. But that's what I'm saying is I don't really know where they're going with this. And I think that's what kind of gets me excited. At this point, I pretty much knew where Falcon and Winter Soldier was going to go. At this point, even with WandaVision, once we kind of got the back history episode, we're like, okay, they've got to clean this up. And yeah, we may think there's a couple of bigger things that happen, all the Mephisto talk. But it ended up being pretty much everybody we were already introduced to clearing things out. I can't see how they could just say that like Ravonna is behind it all.
Yeah.
I think she's just a cog in that. So whether they come back and just destroy the system and say, we don't know who it was, and then they give Avengers type credit Thanos turn of Kang.
Yeah.
Maybe, but I mean, that's what I'm saying. And I love the fact that I really have no idea what they're going to do.
Well, all of that you're saying that it's self-contained and all of that just really makes me worry that it is just another variant of Loki because they're not going to introduce another character. And I really don't like that solution, but it seems pretty possible. Because of you're right. They're not likely to introduce a new character at this point, and neither of the other shows did do anything like that. Unless
Allison was saying here that it seems like we want Loki to ultimately be good, so maybe Loki has to like put to death his like evil version of himself and like start fresh. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or prove that the Loki that can be good and compassionate is actually the superior Loki.
Well, there has been too many relations to Kang for him to be completely dismissed, and the fact that we know that he is coming up in the MCU would not allow a variant Loki to control a TVA type kind of this, especially one that has a character that looks kind of like him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it would be a real treat to end up it being just another Loki, because what was Loki's goal here? To take over the TVA, to be in control of the ultimate power. And then if you found out a version of him actually did that, I don't know. I'd feel disappointed. And I don't think this show was going to disappoint me. So I don't know. But yeah, but by that, I also mean to say we have 2 episodes left.
I know.
How awesome is that? Without any idea outside of a handful of Lokis on some destroyed planet, and the hope that Mobius is alive and we can get him on a jet ski. I think is what's going to power us through the rest of these.
Yeah, I know.
Mobius will rescue Loki on a jet ski.
On a jet ski. Yeah.
I'd pay to see that. Oh, I am paying to see that. Never mind. That's awesome. Okay, perfect. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us on this wonderful discussion. We had some great chat going on in the background. If you guys in the archives have been going this, please be sure that you get the chat going in there. Allison Fortis, Bill Casey, April E., Rob from Smirky Gun just popped in a little bit ago. Silva Surfer. We had a few, the Rich Room, of course, always a good friend. And then who was here in the beginning? Lily Mack. Yeah, just a wonderful, awesome group. Thank you guys so much for joining us in the chat. Now, next week, Rob from Smirking Gun will actually be joining us right here along with Terry Hiddleston, who hopefully will have his internet back and working. He was supposed to catch us a couple of weeks ago and some things went down. So hopefully we won't have a problem getting him back with us next week. And please keep an eye out for Enchantment of Eternity with our big top 20 time loop movies show countdown. It's going to be a blast. Really has been a fun looking over a lot of these old films and sort of figuring out the whole time loop thing has been just sort of a blast. So please come and check that out. I will let you guys know when we get that changed. But any final thoughts, ladies, and then please let people know where they can find you. Alyssa, let's kick things off with you.
Thanks for having me, Darren. Twice now to discuss this this wonderful show that I'm really enjoying. Yeah, you can find me for now on Facebook or Twitter. On Facebook, it's Alyssa Jean Reviews, facebook.com/Alyssa Jean Reviews. And that will cue you in on when my channel is starting, which I think should be about a month from now, the beginning of August. So we're getting close. But if you find me on Facebook, then you will be able to know when that happens. Also on Twitter, I'm at AJ Tomko, so you can follow me there as well. And I will hopefully see you guys here soon. I'm not doing any more Loki with you, but I would love to come back for the next Marvel show, and I'm sure I'll see you around out there.
You have us standing in finals, so we love having to hear. I love always hearing your insights on the thing. So no, it's a pleasure to have you. Corrie, any final thoughts with you, and let people know where they can find you?
I still like all of the stuff that Ravonna keeps in her office. I'm always looking to see what old tech she has. And they were listening to The Swan, and they were having their little drink session. I think it's Debussy's The Swan. Mm-hmm. I have to double check. So that was kind of neat. No, it was a fun episode. A lot of surprising little twists and turns, and I just like seeing Loki developing more as a character and potentially becoming a good guy. Like, who would have thought? Maybe Thor's belief in him wasn't so weirdly placed. Maybe Thor was right, in giving Loki multiple chances to eventually become good.
He could be good and mischievous. It doesn't always have to be like, poisonous snakes. Could be a rubber snake. You see what I'm saying? You just sort of mix things up a little bit there.
Practical joke Loki,
Excellent.
So you can find me I'm on Facebook as CL Shoemaker. My writing page is Literature with Charm, subtitle The Right Stuff. And CL Shoemaker on Facebook, and you can find me here as a guest on Darren's different shows. And thanks for having me again. It's always fun.
For sure. Love having you on. And again, thank you everybody who watched us live. Thanks everyone who joined us in with the archives. We will catch you next week with episode 5, and we find out what is going on Loki World. Hopefully more than just Loki's. All right. Thanks so much, y'all. Take care. We'll catch you next time.